Okie dokie. Oh, there we go. Capture voice. Just getting things worked out right now, so that way everything's centered a bit more. Maybe we'll go a little higher. See my big fat belly, eh? Hey, look. Stream healthy, live, good. We see that, and go from here. Okay, this is Ross Jason Boehm Live. Okay. Hey, Ross Jason Boehm Live. Let's talk about politics today. It's a January the 12th, 2018. Here we go. Justin Trudeau's for the last couple weeks. This is Comox Valley record for yesterday, Thursday the 11th. He's been traveling across the country, stopping across in McGill and Masters and Ottawa, London, talking about political things such as his security, saying it's the RCMP, and in the video for the Canadian military, the MPs or military police training, they say they look after all government VIPs. So is that a lie? And he states the RCMP are professionals at what they do. How are they professionals when they only have 6 months of training and 92 hours of hand-to-hand and gun training? What are their degrees? Do they have a degree in criminology and psychiatry and criminology and addictions, which allows them to be police officers in the University of Saskatoon or UBC? That's the question. So they can be correctional officers and everything else like that. 6-month crash course. How to fill out forms, how to march, how to listen, how to wear their uniform, how to make their bed. When basic training in the military is 6 months plus 2 more years, and then you might get picked up as an MP, which has hand-to-hand combat, gun, being a rifle and handgun training. Different scenarios over and over again, not just drug addictions and whatnot, and close quarter combats, and so forth. Well, topics are this week are poverty, which they're talking about, refugees in the country, poor people, and everything. Aboriginal reserves not having water supplies. Common sense, like he said, they have to train Aboriginals or get people to go on there to maintain these devices, which cost millions of dollars. In the Comox Valley, they're spending, I think, $110 million on a wastewater treatment plant. Yeah, $100 million. Just click back here so I can see if anybody's on there. That's right, $100 million. For $100 million, you look at the long and short of it, what do they get? Water tanks and all that kind of stuff. But big deal. To put it on a reserve in a small community, 30 to 40,000 people at the most, you'd have to look at the one I went to out in the prairies, being in Saskatchewan. I think it was it Melford? Yeah, I think it was Melford. I went there with Mark Blairjean, was a journeyman at the time. We had to look at it. Maybe a 10,000 square foot building with concrete inside and outside. I don't remember seeing anything, but it was a wastewater treatment plant there. Not like Saskatoon. It took up about 300 to 400 acres, which is quite big. Not just treatment plant for taking water out of a lake and treating it, putting the chlorine and all the fixings and whatnot into it. Also, I talked to Gordon Johns. I sent him a letter on poverty, on how poverty are being mistreated. They need to raise it up even $100 more. They just raised it $100. $100 wasn't enough in October. It should be way more than that. I've notified Justin Trudeau on one of his links too. The same thing, that people on social services can't afford to live on it. They're not eating proper, clothed proper, educated enough to get off of it. Their dental work, they need a root canal, not get it pulled out of their tooth, just like any other human being. A root canal is a better treatment. That's why the Nazis pulled all the teeth out, because of gold, instead of pulling all the teeth out, because all the good dentists put root canals in and gold caps on the teeth back then, just like today. They know better. You pull people's teeth out, they lose their human dignity, they can't eat properly, and so forth. That's just the way it works. Root canal, they still got all their teeth in it, and in the end, they still get the gold back, which is very little that's in their mouth. Silver ones too, but they taste funny in the thing. Like I said, I talked to Gordon Johns. He said it's not his area, but it is, because he's the MLA for the Comox Valley, it says, and Port Alberni. Well, what he says, thank you for writing a letter outlining and concerns about assistance in BC and housing in the Comox Valley. While this issue is under provincial jurisdiction, hey, the Department of Social Development, Gene, he's out of Ottawa. BC is just one of the branches of the federal forms. If you look at all social service forms, it has the Canadian logo. It's not BC, just like EI. Nobody can live on CCPD, Canadian Pension Plan, disability either. At or $5.90 a month, it's not even enough to cover rent, basically. If I lived in a house, it would be $1,000 for a one-bedroom apartment instead of this 16 by 25-foot room, which I'm lucky right now is only $545. My hormones being stripped from me. I was assaulted by the RCMP of Canada in a pre-judgment and forced on psychiatry drugs. I have this terrible cough that can't go away. It's all in my lungs and so forth. My health has completely deteriorated. My life is turned upside down, and no government agency that I've ever dealt with will help me in any way, or lawyer or whatnot, or law firms. I've called the ombudsman. I've called every news agency and every government agency from top to bottom. I've sent information out of the harm and the assault they've done on me, crimes of genocide, psychologically assaulting me and torturing me in a pre-judge without a fair trial. That's right, a doctor isn't a judge in a courthouse and doesn't have the right to prejudge somebody. I was a first-line, person at one time. I was a lifeguard. I took all my courses. And, did that for one summer. It doesn't make me a professional. I've been a bouncer, slash doorman. I worked security, which I was not supposed to tell too many people, but I did do it. I made anywhere from $40 to $60 in a 2 to 3 hour time doing concerts, which be Metallica, Bon Jovi, Edgefest, Sheryl Crow, Tragically Hip would be there, The Tea Party, I Mother Earth, Bush X, a couple country bands over a course of 2.5 years while living in Saskatchewan. Being an athletic person my whole life, I weight trained most of my life. Out in Saskatchewan, I had to stop due to the fact of I didn't have enough money to obtain a $50 a month pass, eat properly, and buy proper clothes for work, glasses and after work, or have enough leisure time. Plus, I was trying to spend more time with my girlfriend. She wasn't athletic. She was taking a course at the university in Saskatoon, and she was more important. And minus 50 to leave your car running or having to warm it up for 45 minutes doesn't make sense. They don't have underground parking in every strip mall or mall, which they should, or a rec center. They didn't have a rec center with good enough facilities at the field house back then either. I look at the long and short of it all. Our poverty in Canada, from the reservations to the people in the cities, are absurd. Our education of grade 12 isn't good enough to withhold any educated job or make more than minimum wage. In Britain, minimum wage in 1990 or 2016 was bumped up to $20 an hour, equivalent to Canada, £8 about, if I remember correct. $1 million inheritance without being charged taxes on. Sent to Justin Trudeau as well, no reply, plus on his posts. What can one say? Let's talk about foreigners for a quick second. Foreigners, well, the long and short of it, they moved to the country to get away from their old countries. They're here to seek a better livelihood, which makes sense, just like we do in our own country, to seek a better livelihood. We hope they're not here to intend to harm us, breach our castle, and tell us that we have to live in their ways. We don't go to their countries and do that. Other than say in trade, we'd like you to speak English so we can understand what you're saying as well, and as fluent as I or somebody else can. I have a learning disability. I'm not good at reading text completely. I have to study it for a while. Like I said, things that Justin brought up were poverty. And what else did I write here? Oh, shit. Omar, $10 million. Well, if we have all these $10 million cases, sexual harassment in the RCMP and people getting kicked in the face and VR airport, Robert Serpico, we're not, guy from Poland getting tasered and killed, and then we got the Victoria bombing, provoking of the RCMP, assaulting people in acts against humanity. That's right. Says on CBC or whatever newscast it was, City or Global, that, hey, the judge says the RCMP were provoking it and insinuating and causing the effects to happen. If they wouldn't have done it, these people wouldn't have done it. Just like we go through. They spray things, they antagonize it, they bring in their actors to assault you. Then they say you have schizophrenic because you try to make a complaint to Poison Control or 911. Then they show up and assault you. That's how you know. They're actors. You make a complaint about somebody assaulting you, then the RCMP assault you and nobody wants to listen to you. Proven already. Moms, dads, and family violence. Psychologically assaulting somebody, physically or financially. You lash out, they assault you even more. Like hitting the dog with a stick in the box or the kennel. That's right, assaulting somebody. Forcing them to live on the street, starving them to death, keeping all their money away. Every time they get a job, you don't pay them. They have to go to a labor board, casual labor. They still can't get their money. Slavery. Trafficking of a person. That's right, you're being a pimp to human beings and you're starving them to death, forcing them to live in the society and controlling their lives, dictating how much money they can have and what they can do and if they can breed or not. You're violating every human right, RCMP and Justin Trudeau and the Parliament of Canada. That's right, in every province. You're dictating on what somebody can and can't do, violating equal opportunities, the same education, the same knowledge. Somebody in grade 12 doesn't have the same knowledge as Justin Trudeau or any MP or the Speaker of the House, the Senate, because they have a higher education. They went to university to learn something different. Now it's not equal opportunity. Plus, they don't have equal strength to somebody who weight trains and has a little more strength than somebody else. There's the problems. Human control. Now we got this thing called hormones. If they don't have hormones, they're AIDS-like victims and can't live, that dictate on your life. That's right. If you have asthma, have to take an asthma spray, which is a light steroid, so you can breathe proper. Or build up your immune system because you have the flu or cold and call it a vaccination for a short period of time. You are controlling somebody's life, dictating they have to take this to stay alive. You've taken something away from their hormones and turned them off, like the professor in UBC says, which I sent Justin Trudeau as well. and is on my Men's Health page or playlist as well. You've assaulted somebody. You took parts of their body away, being their hormones, and now you have to reintroduce paid hormones, controlling them on how much they can and can't have, just like food, just like money, the greater lifestyle they can live, their culture. Dictated on the clothing they have. I really hope you can hear this right now, and that's all I can say. I'm going to check one time and see if the volume is right now. Quick pause. Yeah, green's going up and down, so I'm just going to nod. See if Harold's on and check. Okay, he's not on right now, so. But you look at it, like I said, RCMP are prejudging human beings and pre-treating somebody. Our hospitals don't work because they're acting like vigilantes for the RCMP or police forces, not listening in first line responders, just like a lifeguard. They're refusing to listen to the human beings first. They're prejudging them and provoking incidences, taking a long period of time while people go postal by Billy the Kid and causing their psychological harm in life. Not giving any human freedom in life. So they can't have any choices. Family violence, like I said, parents telling you need medication and assaulting you with psychological abuse, such as calling you, hey, you're making huge money and you're barely scraping by, trying to belittle you that you're a poor boy and they're richer than you. Or they have something you don't have, bragging they're having a better life, and they worked harder than you when they've don't look at the facts. They struggled when they were a kid. They landed a good job, and good for them. I'm hoping to find a good job too. Why don't you quit insulting your child so they can live a life too? Yeah, they've never partied or done drugs like you said either. So grow up as well when you've insinuated and made campfire stories for them. Remember, us men, we're outnumbered 7-1 by women. And we're all minorities. Redheads are only 1%, and Canadian citizens are a minority in the world, too. It's pretty pathetic in some ways. Like I said, if Justin Trudeau wants to mislead human beings, the jury of Canada who vote for them, that's a crime. Intending to harm us by psychologically assaulting us with falsehoods and false messages that they're going to help poverty and help all these people in society and make things better. Intending to harm, like I said, crimes of genocide, psychologically assaulting us with falsehoods, torture, to psychologically assault somebody, to control our lives, not letting us have any freedom. Privatization doesn't work. We don't own the big businesses. We don't have people working for us in greatest amounts and making hordes of money so we can live a better life. Scraping to buy day by day. Even a big business does that, but not so much because let's use Superstore for example, have how many people entering their doors every day, every week, every month, and how much money comes through. That guy who has the cabinet shop, he might only have 3 or 4 customers per month and have to pay for all that overhead, all the equipment, all the labor, and the rent or mortgage for that place. And if something breaks down, he has to be able to replace it, and even the people, and have money in the bank for all his labor so his employees don't have to go through a labor board and be assaulted in slavery either. Minimum wage, yep, we can't have a living wage that somebody can't live by. It's a human right violation of fair wages as well. IDs in the country, well, it has to change. It just doesn't work. How many fake IDs out there? Our driver's license should be, or BC or provincial identification should be a Canadian ID. It should be our driver's license, our medical card, our PAL, our boating, and so forth. We can register on it. We go in. We can check our criminal record. We can check our medication that we're on for our lifetime, our x-rays, anything our doctors say, anything the police say under driver's license, that we can see what the police say for any offenses or any complaints that we have against us on other people because of criminal record. And if we had any charges, if we were ever convicted, we can look at it only. The RCMP or the police officers can only look at the driver's license. Our medical, we can only look at it, and our doctors, our school records, we can only look after, and our social insurance number and all our jobs and our references, we can only look after, and our employers of the future and the past can put information like how much we made, how much bonuses we got, and all our information for, what do you call it? What do you call that crazy thing? EI, Income Tax, Revenue Canada. There we go. Tongue twister today, hey? So you look at the long and short of it, you can make ID that easy. Like I said, criminal record, driver's license, boating, FAC or PAL, gun registry, or registry that you took some type of martial arts or training in some way, all fall under there. Medical's under medical, schooling's under schooling, and so forth. Other than, yep, driver's license says learning disability has visual aid. Has a problem reading text because visual aid. Anybody with a visual aid has to have everything legally spoken to. All terms, laws, and regulations, Institution of the Blind dictates. I went from being a normal person, working all the time, thinking I was going to have a family, whatnot, to living on the street in 1999. Assaulted by family violence, RCMP didn't want to do nothing. Lived on the floor, sleeping in my apartment that was upstairs, and then had to start dumpster diving to obtain things in life. Well, all damaged and destroyed now by other people because I sure didn't do it, and those kind of things just don't happen in a normal life. Poverty ain't fun to live in. Neither is the street. I'm not the only one that goes through it. There's many, many more people out there. What's an act? An act's anything that comes after because nobody did anything for you. Now all the actors are getting help, but you didn't when you spoke up and still spoke up about what you went through. That's right. It's just a giant act. What can one do but feel more assaulted that you're going through it again? The Coca-Cola fix. Thanks to Mike, what's his name? Corgle. Michael Corgle. Corgle Trucking and Backhoe Limited of Munster Road, Courtney, and Cousins Road. His brother, Gord. Mike used to live in the building. He used to come down, share a pop, coffee with me, and hang out after he retired from working at Thrifty Foods for 15 years, I think. Dried me because I was unable to walk or ride my bike all the way over to Thrifty Foods or over to Walmart, so he was a good fella to do so for me. But you look at the long and short of it, let's get back to Justin Trudeau. Well, residents or reservations, estates, well, why don't they become like Greenland? Yep, they need water treatment so they have clean water and whatnot, because that makes sense. They also need better housing, learn to have smaller cities. Maybe they should combine their areas so they can have an actual town or village and whatnot as well. All the videos we see of the poverty on there are holes in the walls, dirty water, tubs full of crap, and whatnot. Stories as a kid, shit buckets, there were holes in the floor and whatnot. They sold their toilets, punched holes in the wall, and everything in there they wrecked and destroyed and whatnot. What generation did that? I don't know. Why they would do that in some senses, lack of heat or whatnot. Not being racist, these are just stories I heard over a lifetime from family members and trade workers that seen this in life. To be union in life, crime of genocide out of your country doesn't make sense, which I went through for the last 20 years. Everything seems like a giant act. A sexual assault, a gay man hitting on a gay woman isn't a sexual assault. A gay man hitting on a straight man like myself is a sexual assault. No difference than a woman getting hit on by a group of men or a man and not wanting them to do it and stressing to them not to do it over and over again. We got a case like that in the RCMP times about 3. Comox Valley, I understand we have that same thing going on. I asked a guy named Robert Jackson to stop talking to me now too. He tried to give me a hug and trying to molest me at the same time like he was going to have sex with me. Compassion hug. His dad and cat just died within 2 weeks of each other and hardship. Hadn't had a shower for probably like 3 weeks probably, and he's got an eczema and wasn't wearing a shirt, and this stuff they spray in the air just freaks the crap out of you, and all you do is get in complete panic mode. I went off on Bev Miller of BC Housing Tenancy resident worker about it today because she had it around her and he was standing there when I returned a wooden chair that I borrowed because my chair behind me busted. Those springs went out. Like my GoFundMe for new stuff. I got viruses on my computer. My lazy boy just busted, and my computer chair I sit on is falling apart completely and isn't designed to sit on 8 hours a day for somebody 250 pounds, maybe 150 pounds, and your ass hurts all day. Monitor, TV, ViewSonic, it's over 10 years old, has to be replaced too. Just like equipment on the computer and webcam, so it's not as fuzzy. Today it looks pretty good, and brighter lights and whatnot, and stand, desk, and whatnot. Like I asked, $20,000. That's $10 from what, 200 people, or is that 2,000 people? 1 times 220,000 is 20,000 people at $1. So that's not bad. GoFundMe. Let's see what you can do. Hopefully you can help out. But Justin Trudeau, you need to do some stuff on poverty. Raise the minimum wage. CPP, people can't afford to live on it as well. At $1,000 for a single person on PWD, people with multiple barriers or disability 1 or 2 in social services or Department of Social Development of British Columbia or Canada. It's not enough. If you look at rent seekers, you can see rent for a 1-bedroom place, which might be adequate, so you have a place to socialize in a living room and have your own bedroom so people don't have to sit on your bed. You can't afford with $1,000 and eat proper. 3 meals a day. If you don't have enough testosterone in your body, your health is going to deteriorate, your teeth are going to break down, your bones are going to break down, your hair might fall out, you might get whiter hair, and yes, the leading cause of mental illness, like you talked about, is, according to the Dietitians of Canada, which I stated to you, is malnutrition and not enough nutrition. Proteins in the body. Carbohydrates is carbohydrates. You need proteins in the body to develop kids' brains and human brains, and that's what the body needs to maintain the muscle mass in the body, according to all fitness gurus and fitness courses out there. CanFit Pro. Living wage, well, you need an education to have a good paying wage and just go from there. That's all I can say. Living wage is what, 26, 30 bucks an hour? General Labor's Union says $32 an hour. A journeyman rate plumber right now, I understand, is about $29 to $31 an hour. But it takes you so many years to get there. You spend 2-3 years at a first year, or it takes you 10 years to get to a third year, like I know a few people like Lionel Hoser of Saskatchewan, Saskatoon, told me, and other people in the trades like Speedy and Dell. You don't want to be in the plumbing trade or the pipe fitting trade because there's never enough work back then. Yep. In 20 years, they had strike after strike after strike for higher wages, and they didn't make enough money, and they're only working for a few months out of every year to get enough for EI, and then be laid off in the wintertime. They couldn't find enough full-time work all year round. They weren't getting enough leisure time, not enough food, and they never get their holiday per year or money put away for retirement. Always spending your RSPs or whatever you have to survive. Your wife gets pregnant, well, you have to pay for her because you got to feed her so that child comes out of her healthy and fit and ready to live life. Not assaulted even before it gets out because it was malnourished in the womb or the belly. Long and short of it, we have too much poverty. We have a -3 weather. We have to have people inside in shelters. Group homes and shelters and BC housing isn't a home because it's not bought, it's not yours, and every time the rent goes up, you have to move to a new place. Just like the videos I have posted on my Poverty in Canada playlist as well. Just like I sent into Justin Trudeau, it's unfair treatments. It's not adequate under Article 25 or in the Charter of Human Rights and Freedom, which human rights is, because Charter of Human Rights is based after the Universal Declaration of Human Rights signed in 1948. Our laws are all federal. That's why we have reservations and treaties that have to go to Ottawa to get things done. Everything is an apex. We have only one thing. It's called the Canadian dollar bill, don't we? That's right. The Department of Justice is a federal book. It kind of looks like this. It's our criminal code. It has all the kind of stuff in here. And like it says, an assessment order, a mental disorder act, says an assessment order can only be given by a judge and a jury to be done so. Because why? Capital punishment. We don't have capital punishment to kill somebody, chemical lobotomize and sterilize somebody, take their human rights and freedoms so they don't feel like they want to live in life, and assault them over and over again. Killing them with psychological assault. Negative influences that kill somebody. That's right. Torturing somebody over and over again, forcing them to live less. Why People Went Postal by Billy the Kid, which I stated in other videos. You've assaulted people and trying to kill them and institutionalize them and control their lives. There's no freedom because they can't find a job that's suitable, pays them enough, and they don't get workplace harassment from the day they started working at the age of 15 and they're 45 or 50 now. That's right. Assault. Stalking them in every job. Criminal harassment, because the same scenario happens from place to place. Just like family violence, your mom and dad calling you dummy and retard, and bosses calling you that. People unlawfully without certificates. They don't have the certificate in family violence or to be a doctor or carpenter or any type of trade work or uniforms, and lying of their intent. Having people harass them with false communication devices, telephones, texts, that they've been on a drug and not, falls under that as well. Misleading a human being. We have the right to the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedom. Number 2, fundamental freedoms. Everyone has the fundamental freedoms of religion, thought, belief, opportunity, opinion, expression, including freedoms of press and media and communications, freedom of peaceful assemblies and associations, the democratic right to vote and have a say, and so forth. The mobility right to be able to move from place to place and gain a livelihood, or seek school or better living conditions. Life, liberty, and security of a person. The right to self-defense. Not to have search and seizures. The right not to be detained or imprisoned unlawfully. Just like I went through in the psych ward and violated of. Section 7.2, to deny a medical treatment that you don't want, or not be misled of the harm it's going to do, just like Invega that I went through. That's right, assaulting me with a drug of capital punishment. I have no life. You degraded my life and harmed me, and it's only what I say. It doesn't matter what you say. My life is being harmed. I can't live a good enough life anymore. I can't feed myself, house myself, or see any good future. I can't have a family because I can't afford one. You've assaulted me. You took my right of life away to have a family of my own DNA. That's right, my own DNA. My mom and dad make me because that's how it works. I'm their kid. My wife or girlfriend and me make my kid, and that's it. Not adoption, not my siblings or any family member having sex with my wife one time or many times, because I think they had it once, they can do it twice. Just like the RCMP or police will say, a thief thinks if they can steal once, they'll steal twice. Same thing. That's adultery too, isn't it? The Ten Commandments. Cruel and unusual punishments. Yeah, to be poverty and not have enough education in this society. Yeah, it's a cruel and unusual punishment, isn't it? Because you don't explain that 100% in high school from grade K to 12. What the laws and regulations, what's schizophrenic, what's bipolar, and what really is freedom of speech. Why not? Because you don't teach social studies and the structure of society in it properly. You say the Charter of Human Rights and Freedom, but you don't explain all the definitions and rules and regulations, like the definition in Webster Dictionary. Recovery is 100% of what you had before and nothing less. If you lose $100, $100 back. If you get injury, 100% movement back in strength as well under the doctor. Equal rights of equal before and after the law of equal protection, meaning a doctor, a judge, the police, and a lawyer on your side, even their side, won't judge you before jury unfairly. They'll listen to you. They won't pick sides, those cops, just like in a sports game. The other lawyer might, because they are defending them. Your lawyer is only going to be on your side. If not, they're misleading and lying to you. Excuse me, violating your rights. And that's as far as they'll go in our two official languages. Yep. Any immigrant who has permanent resident in this country can be thrown out at any time if they commit any serious crimes. Think about that. Breaching a castle in ancient times, they misled us, came into the country, and their intent was to harm other people. That's a serious crime, isn't it? Misled, intent to harm, knowing, torture, and so forth, because they're psychologically assaulting you. They pretend to be your friend, then they assault you. That's a serious crime to me. Anyhow, we're going to leave it at that. And, oh yeah, equal guarantee to both sexes, male or female or transgender, because a transgender is a male or female as well. I don't believe in transgenders, Frankensteins, chemicals that make a woman into a man or a man into a woman, because what happens when they come off of it? It doesn't make sense. A woman who wants to make muscle and work out and be an athlete, go for it. But I don't want to see a woman as a man and try to pretend to be a man and try to hit on me. You're not a man. You got a womb on you, ovaries. God designed you to be a woman and breed. If we can't breed and have kids in life, somebody sterilized us, meaning the government harmed us, and you have to take a drug called HCG so your hormones work, or testosterone, so you can live a life, or some type of chemical, just like for diabetes, which it says for diabetes too, testosterone fixes diabetes too, then or helps it, then you're being human controlled by our government, who intends to harm us, as does the FDA with such drugs called Invega. They're lying to us on the cause and effect. Anything that causes you harm, like obesity, gynecomastia, and you have to have a surgical procedure to remove it, that means the doctors are controlling our lives that cause us financial difficulties. When Invega payout is about $80 million just for gynecomastia. Not less, that's not accounting the psychological harm and torture that others did to get you put in this psych ward or whatnot and detained, like Omar Cotter, $10 million minimum for 10 years. If it's 20 years or 30 years and you're a kid on ADHD, well, 50 years of your life, well, you take 10 years at 50 years, $10 million, that's $50 million, isn't it? And then some, and then some, and then some. Crazy world, hey? But that's the way ICBC looks at it. You get whiplash, it's good for what? $20,000, $30,000? That's the first thing they offer you, because that's their set standard, just like no faults in Saskatchewan. That's right. All I do is read this dumb book once in a while. They started putting stuff in the foods. My mind started to close up again. That's how I look at it. They'll probably say some conspiracy theory in your head, Ross, but that's just the way it works. How else does it close down and whatnot? You can tell from the speech what goes on. I don't think anybody's going to listen to this. I might delete it. So a bunch of babbling on and babbling on. You take her easy. Thank you for listening if you did, because the only people that might listen is somebody on YouTube. Hey, here we go. For January the 12th, 2018, Ross Jason Boehm Lie. Muscle dexterity to end it off as can't run, walk, or breathe properly, always coughing, and can't physically do push-ups, sit-ups, or defend myself in any way physically if somebody had a physical altercation with me. It sucks to be assaulted by your government and have nowhere to go either. Need a whole new planet. Where do you go? Psh, nowhere. They just expect you to die. That's how ignorant our Canadian government is, and nobody listens. Maybe they're listening to this. It's called torture. All caused by the RCMP prejudgment. I'd like to see their educational background. By chain of command, everyone's responsible. Your trainers, your professors, and everybody who's gave you your certificate of education for your actions and your falsehoods and your intent to call somebody a steroider who never done steroids and whatnot for your actions. Why? They trained you to act that way. They trained you with your knowledge. They're responsible for your actions, for you to act that way. And that they didn't look at your application, study it, and go through and analyze the person they are for the job. Just like somebody entering this country. They didn't look at the application good enough or investigate the people who they hired or led in the country, that they wouldn't harm another human being like that and cause more malpractices and misconducts and payouts for their assaults, financially harming the people, meaning they're terrorists. Those are the definitions of their words. Everything I said is a Canadian Criminal Code book by the Department of Justice. United Nations Human Rights, the Charter of Human Rights and Freedoms, and law firms that put their stuff on YouTube. You can look at Canadian laws, poverty in Canada, and Invega side effects, or Invega side effects and recovery on my YouTube playlists. Check it out, even Men's Health. There's 1 and 2. 1's me talking, 2's the references of what I talk about.